Hello and welcome. In this video we'll find out how to define the stock. Now we can use stock models to help visualize the toolpaths more realistically. The stock model that you create can be displayed with the part geometry when viewing the toolpaths, during backplot, or while verifying toolpaths. So let's get started. Moving over to the left in the Toolpath Manager, what I'm going to do is click on the plus sign just to the left of Properties, and then next up I'm going to click on Stock Setup. Now before we move on, in the bottom right corner I'm going to click on Help, and here we are on the Stock Setup tab. I'm going to click Field Definitions, and this will give you more information on the different buttons that you're going to find in Stock Setup. So don't forget, Help is just a click away. What I'm going to do is move up now to the right corner of the Help box and click Close. Now the first thing that we're going to do is check out Bounding Box. Now what Bounding Box does is calculates the sizes of the part, and then these values are then input into the X, Y and Z values. So what I'm going to do is click on the Bounding Box button, and over on the left the Bounding Box dialog box appears. Now starting at the top, we've checkmarked all entities, so it's going to base this calculation on all the entities, all the parts of our geometry. Now just below in the Create section, the only checkmark is against stock, so that's all we're going to be doing is creating stock. Now down below lines and arcs, what this does is creates a closed boundary of lines if the shape is rectangular. Now just below points, this creates points at the corners or extents of the bounding box. And center point creates a point at the center. So for the create, I'm just going to leave stock activated. Now down below in the expand section, X is set to 0.2 and Y is 0.2. I'm going to change this to 0 in X, 0 in Y. So I don't want to expand the geometry at all for this stock. Now we're done here. I'm going to click on OK. Now what's happened is the X and Y values now read 3 for the Y, 3 for the X. So we haven't expanded the geometry at all. Now for the Z, I'm going to input 0.25. Now over on the left we've got display activated and also a check mark against fit screen, and wireframe is activated. So I'm going to go down the bottom, click on OK, and let's see what's happened. So the red dashed lines represent the stock material. Let's go back into Stock Setup again. Now the arrow from Stock Origin is pointing to the center of the part, and the values for the Stock Origin are all 0. So what we're saying is X0, Y0 is the center of the part, and Z value of 0 is at the top of the part. Let's go back into Bounding Box again. This time let's expand by 0.2, expand the Y by 0.2, and let's find out what happens. I'm not going to change anything else, just going to click on OK. So as you can see, the X and Y now read 3.4. I'm going to change the Z back to 0.25 and click on OK. Now we expanded by 0.2. So from the edge of the geometry to this red dashed line is 0.2. Let's go back into Stock Setup. Now let's have a look at the Stock Origin. So the arrow is pointing to the center of the part, and the values are all 0. Now let's change this. I'm going to move over to the lower left corner and click this point. So now what we're saying is this lower left corner is X0, Y0, Z0. I'm also going to change the Y back to 3. I'm going to change the X back to 3. Now let's have a look, see what this has done. I'm going to click on OK, and I'm going to do a screen fit. So what we've done in fact is said the lower left corner of the stock, position it at X0, Y0, Z0, which is no good for this part. So let's go back into stock setup and fix it up. So I'm going to go back into stock setup again. Now our X0, Y0 needs to be at the center, so all I'm going to do is click on the center of the part. Looks good. I'm going to move over to the left. Let's click on solid. So instead of wireframe, I've activated solid, and let's check it out, see what that looks like. So there's that solid representation. I'm going to click on screen fit. I'm going to move back to stock setup again. I'm going to change it back to wireframe. Next up, let's go over to the tool settings page. Now, starting at the top, program number. This is where you can go to change this number to 1, 2, 3 or whatever, and this will show up as your program number for your CNC code later on when you generate CNC code. Now, over on the left, the feed calculation at present is from tool. Now, from tool uses the feed rate, plunge rate, retract rate and spindle speeds directly from the tool definition. Now let me go and show you where it will take those speeds and feeds from. I'm going to click on OK, and over on the left in the toolpath manager I'm going to click on tool number 2, and let's go over to parameters, and this is where it's going to drag these feeds and speeds from. So spindle speed is set to 1069 and feed rate 6.4176. So that's where these spindle speed, feed rates, etc. will be extracted from. I'm going to click on OK. Let's go back into stock setup again and click on tool settings. Now material calculates the feed rate, plunge rate, retract rate and spindle speed based on the type of stock material. And from defaults, this uses the settings from the toolpath defaults file. Now, moving on down to the bottom of the screen, the material is set to aluminum inch 2024. Well, I'm going to change it. I'm going to move into select. I'm going to click on the select button. Now, at the very bottom of the material list dialog box, there's a source. I'm going to open up this drop down and click on mill library, and the material that I want to select is aluminum inch 6061. I'm done here. Going to click on OK. I'm going to click on OK again. Now that completes our video on stock setup. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.